Inside the X is a short newsletter every Friday designed to give you some fun right before the weekend. It'll include links to blog posts, articles, books, quotes, and recent purchases I've made. Everything is handpicked to add value to your life. To join, email entertainmentxpodcast@gmail.com.
Good morning, Vietnam!
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't fly!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
For this episode, I sit down with Zurin Villanueva, and we talk about her Broadway career thus far and where it's headed. She has a lot of great insight on audition technique, and she talks about this energy that she can feel when she goes into the audition room. It's very fascinating to hear about. We then do an add-on at the end of this episode, which covers a lot of points regarding attractiveness and Broadway and what that means. So I hope you enjoy this episode and keep on keeping on. We're back. I'm Clayton Howe, and today with me is Zurin Villanueva.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for inviting me over to chat today. So where do we begin? Well, we met. I just want people to know how we know each other now. Jonathan Musette, a lovely human being.
My baby.
He did. Yes. He did. He was in Jersey Boys at Ogunquit this past fall, and we'll be doing it again, I believe.
Yes, I think they have dates for next spring.
That's amazing.
May.
So we're gonna talk. Okay. So
have you seen it?
No.
Oh,
I didn't see it.
He was great.
I was outside. I had ear to the door at Pearl in their final run presentation.
Nice.
And he sounded
It's real nice.
real good.
Oh, those singer firsts.
So we got a lot to talk about. We're gonna talk about Clueless, Mean Girls, Shuffle Along,
Yes.
Book of Mormon, all of it. I want to start though. We're gonna rewind here. As a kid, what were your theater dreams?
Oh, I had so many theater dreams. But my mom loved to dance. She wanted me to be a dancer, so I danced first.
Okay.
But I remember when I was about 8 saying, I want to be an actor. I said that to her, and I remember saying it to her while she was in her bedroom. She kind of looked at me, and she was like, she made a face like, that's random. Why
was it random? No one else in the fam?
Yeah, no one else in the family. Like my grandmother, whose place we're in right now, she, show business was her business, is what she said.
Okay.
And she was a huge fan and went to every single Broadway show. She saw the original Chorus Line. She's seen them all. She saw the original Dreamgirls the very first time it opened. And she, after she retired as a phone operator, she went to work for Carnegie Hall as an usher. And I used to visit her when I was little. Okay. Because that was her retirement job.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. It definitely was, we've always been fans and theater goers in my family, but no one had ever done it except for me. Okay. So I guess it was a little bit random. My dad is a lawyer and my mom is a court reporter, so in the law. Yeah. But yeah, so I came out and I was like, I want to be an actor.
How old were you when you decided this?
I believe I want to say I was 7.
Okay, yeah.
I think I was 7 or 8.
7, 8, and then you started that's when everything started? Dance lessons or
I had just started dance when I was 7. Yeah. There was a kid that lived on the 14th floor and he was in Sesame Street. He had all of this money because he had a show and he had a bit on Sesame Street. Yeah. And I remember my mom playing it for me because I used to hang out with them all the time. And she would play it. And I remember seeing him being tickled by Elmo. And he was laughing and I looked at it and I got so jealous. I was like, ugh, I could do that. And I remember it must have been in my tone of voice because my mother turned around and looked at me like, Zurin. And I was like, I could do that.
I was just saying.
And so I really think that's where the bug came from.
Right.
So thanks, Imani Patterson.
Come on. Okay, so all right, so we get through and you're performing in high school and continuing to perform. And was there a defining moment or deciding moment where you were like, I'm making a career out of this?
Yes.
I don't do other
well,
things.
for a long time, I wanted to be a straight actor. I don't do musical theater. Like, that was me when I was a teenager. I was like, oh, I'm a real actor. It was really funny. I wanted to do Shakespeare. I still want to do Shakespeare. But, you have to, change gears and do something completely different with your time. If that's, there's so many different ways to be an actor in this business. But
yeah.
So I went to Frenchwoods Festival, and I tried out for all of the plays, and I didn't make it. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sit around here and do nothing. So my friends were like, oh, well, there's musical theater auditions. You want to go in for that? And I was like, well, what's that? Disney, right? Disney's musical theater? Just sing a Disney song? Okay. So I sang Reflections. And I got cast in my very first musical, which was Children of Eden by Stephen Schwartz. Yeah. And that's when I realized there was a moment where we're singing the last song, and it's like, children of Eden, grant us your pardon. All that we leave to you is the unknown. And we're turning and we're just singing, and the people watching were like, I turned around and they were crying, and I was so shocked by it. Yeah. I was so like, oh my gosh, this works? You're feeling things? This is real?
I did that.
This is real theater?
Yeah.
So that is really when I realized, I was like, musical theater, there might be something here. There might be some magic here. It was that moment where I started doing more musicals, and I did Chorus Line, and, because I had dance training, and I just started singing, and I had already trained in acting since I was 12. Because I went to LaGuardia for drama. So I was getting that training, and oh, you can put all three together? Cool. I don't have to pick,
Did you have mentors? Or
Yes, I had lots of mentors. I mean, I feel like all of my acting teachers were my mentors in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. James Moody, LaGuardia High School. James. Harry Schiffman, Lee Lobenhofer. Then in college, it was Kim Bay at Howard University in D.C. Yeah. Reggie Ray.
Were there standout pieces of advice they gave you? Things that, I don't know, like a conversation you had with one of them that shifted your view on performing, or I don't know, human interaction or anything?
Oh gosh, there's so many moments like that.
Right.
There were so many. But I think one of them that I remember that Reggie Ray told me was, he saw how sensitive I was. And so when we're rehearsing and we're getting notes, I would get really sensitive to the point where I can't hear what's being given to me. And he was watching a rehearsal, and I was starting to clam up because I was getting these notes, and I was starting to make it feel like it was a personal attack. I was very young. I was in college at the time. Must have been 20, maybe 19, 20. And he looked at me, and it was just the way he looked at me. He was like, that's the thing that can get in your way. That right there. And I almost didn't completely know what he was talking about. Now that I'm older, I have figured it out. Yeah. But the second he said it, I knew it was true. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think about that, as you try to continuously open yourself up while you're getting critique, and letting it wash over you, and hearing it, and letting it process, and keeping it in its perspective, from different people, But yeah, I remember that.
How have you gotten better at opening up or staying open to critique? Is there
knowing myself has helped.
Yeah.
Because I get the feeling that now I know where certain things come from when I'm given certain notes. I'm like, yes, I'm doing that, or I'm doing this.
Okay.
and thinking of the entire thing as a collaboration, as a figuring out, as a I'm trying to translate what this director is saying to me into some action, you know, and like the fun of the translation.
Yeah.
You know, and just taking it as a game. Like, okay, let me translate what you're saying. You know, or do you mean like this, or do you mean like that, or I have this idea, and like really, like, you can talk to your director. You know, you can figure it out together. It's okay. You don't have to know everything. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And like looking at it as a support instead of I'm telling you to do this. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you? I didn't see this. Did you go to college?
I did.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Howard University.
Okay, Howard University.
The Mecca.
Yes. yes.
It is an HBCU in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
It is the only one with an accredited fine arts program.
Okay.
I got a BFA in musical theater.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
4 years. And then, so we're going to do, as you can tell, we're going to be doing a bunch of jumping around today. I perused the internet. It's an amazing place, sometimes correct, sometimes incorrect, and I found out some information.
Oh,
and
what's in there? I haven't Googled myself in a while. I have to check.
Yeah, you got to Google yourself.
It's been a minute.
Your name, Google does like an autofill too.
I know. I remember the very first time I got the autofill.
Yeah.
I had just did my very first show, which was Crowns at Arena Stage.
Okay.
And I started typing my name, and it filled in my last name, and I was like,
I made it.
I'm a star. That was a good day.
Oh, it was perfect.
It was a good day.
So Shuffle Along.
Yes.
How did you book that?
Well, I love this story.
Okay.
So I was on tour with Book of Mormon. This was my second year. And if you've ever been on national tour, you know that it can mess with your mind.
Yeah.
After a while, it's hard to know what's real and what's not, honestly. It's like road rules. It's crazy. It's a fishbowl is what everyone refers to it, the fishbowl. So I'm deep into the fishbowl. And I've decided, I was like, you know what? I think I've done my fill. I would like another gig, but I'm on the road. Getting another gig while you're on the road, that's very, very tricky unless you know someone. And I had heard through the grapevine that there was a 20s musical coming out called Shuffle Along. And I had played Josephine Baker in a self-titled musical at Metro Stage a few years prior. And I was like, I know the 20s is that's my era. Like, I know I can match something in that musical. So I made the phone calls. I called everyone I could think of all of Black Broadway. I called every Black Broadway person I could think of. I called Andre DeShields. I called Maurice Hines. I called every Titan I could think of that might have an in to what they're auditioning and what they need at this point.
Right.
Even though I didn't even know if they were done. So I did all that. Nothing happened. And so I was really down. I was like, well, I can't. And I did a summer solstice thing, an abundance thing. And I was like, I need a job. I need a new gig to get me off this tour. And I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I get a Facebook message from Marshall Davis, who was the associate choreographer for Shuffle Along under Savion Glover, and he was like, "Oh, Zurin, are you still tapping? I had met this man at a tap show for Chloe Arnold's tap show in the Lower East Side years prior, when I was just coming to show up to see this tap. That's it."
You were just an audience member then?
Yeah, I was just an audience member. But we got to talking. He was like, "Oh, you tap?" And I guess I would be his Facebook friend because of that. Yeah. He was like, "Are you still tapping? We're having one more call." And I'm like, "Oh my God, it worked." So I talk real fast and I get on a plane. Yeah. And I go there on a Monday, and we're in Utah at the time. So like it took a minute to get over there and get back in time for the show. And I did it, and I hadn't heard anything in a week. I heard someone else had heard something. So I thought it was a wrap. And I was like, you know what, Zurin, I just need to take the leap. I put in my notice at 8 a.m., and I got a phone call that I'd gotten it at 12 p.m.
So
I gave him my notice to leave Book of Mormon at 8 a.m., and I got an email saying that I had booked Shuffle Along at 12 p.m. that same day.
Oh my goodness. So rewinding a little bit, you said it worked.
It worked.
What worked?
The universe.
Yeah. Well, I'm
like-
interested. So I'm interested. Like, what were you saying?
Well, a friend of mine on tour with me was like, "Oh, the summer solstice, like it's like this really powerful day, and it helps like to like say what you want out of life in the next 6 months. And you light a candle, and you light an abundance candle, and it's fun. It's like just trying to manifest."
Yeah.
Right. I had never done it before, and I was like, "Well, that sounds cool. That sounds like at least something that would make me feel better about my circumstances." So I did it. And I was like, I'm going to get a gig that's going to get me off the show, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Because, like, it's not that you say what it is. It's the fact that you don't worry about it after. That's the key and the hardest part.
Yeah.
Is not worrying about it. So that's what I did. She told me everything to do, and I light the candle, and I say the things.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to do something that celebrates after. And I was like, okay, well, I'll dance around my apartment to my favorite singer. That sounds like a celebration.
Right.
And then I got that email, and I was like, it worked.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, well, first of all, you can't make that up. It's so crazy. And just that it worked. No, and I'm interested in this because I know it's like, for some people, it's taboo to manifest.
Yes, and it's weird, and it's like all that hippy dippy stuff, and blah blah blah. Yeah.
So what is that consider? Is that considered setting intention?
Yeah, setting intention. The Secret.
Yeah, the book.
It's The Secret. It's it's just that you just saying it with your mouth and not worrying about it afterwards, and that's it. Like I did all the candles and stuff, but I've also had experiences where I've just said things out loud. Like, it's time for national tour. It's time for Broadway. It's time for production contract is what I said to myself. Okay, how are you going to get productions, Zurin? Well, I should probably dance and sing every day, so I'm ready. So that's what I started doing. And then the very next gig I got was Book of Mormon. So like, and I didn't even know what I was doing then. I was just like, okay, Zurin, goals. What are we going to do?
Right.
And like I think that was that was the same, where you just say it and you don't worry about it, and then you just, okay, I'm gonna do this until it comes, and then it comes.
What was your period of time up to Book of Mormon? When you made that decision, okay, this is what I want. This is the next step. How long had you been going? How
had I been going?
That speed or that level or whatever.
I think
you want to call
3
it.
years.
Yeah.
3 or 4. 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, it hadn't been crazy long, but my first job I had before I graduated college. So I was able to get my equity card and my degree at the same time.
Come on.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so I was able to just come back to New York because I'm from here.
Yeah.
And then just hit it.
Yeah.
Start hitting it. I did. That's why I have a lot of DC theater on my resume, because I was able to, get those connections. I did a random gig doing a play on Ellis Island.
What was it called?
It was called Emma Lazarus, the story of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I heard of it. No,
You heard of it?
I heard of it.
How did you hear of this?
You hear things.
Oh my
it's a
God.
Small, it's a
you
small
hear
city.
things.
No, not me. I'm saying people. It's a small. We run around the same circles.
That's funny. Yes, I did that. Very cute gig that was funded by the state of New York. Hey.
State of New York funding. So then, real quick, I don't want to make you have to like regurgitate your resume. I'm curious, what was the moment then for Mean Girls? How did that come about?
Mean Girls. Well, Mean Girls kind of came out of the blue for me. I was in LA, shopping myself around to agents and such. Well, commercial agents. And I got that call that it was like in 2 weeks. And Casey Nicola knows me from Book of Mormon. So I assumed that's who helped me out. Thanks, Casey.
Come on, Casey.
And so I went in. I went in for Karen at first. And then I went in for ensemble cover. And ta-da. It was very smooth. I had 2 calls.
Yeah.
2 dance calls, 2 singing situations, and ta-da. I didn't think I booked. I was like, I didn't book. I feel like when you like put all of yourself into any audition, your instinct is to be like, I didn't do it. I didn't do enough. You know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that instinct is.
Yeah.
But I'm walking around with my tail between my legs for 2 weeks. And then my agent's like, you got it. And I'm like, really? No, you're the worst. You're the worst, Zurin. You're the worst.
It's that self-talk. No, it is. It's
Yeah,
that self-talk. Okay, so playing you're Karen and Gretchen.
Yes. Wonderful.
How was that?
I had the most wonderful time.
Yeah.
I had the best time ever. Truly. The cast is so supportive and really amazing, whispering things in your ears during the show. Kill it. You know, it's the best thing. Riding that lunch table is as thrilling as it looks.
Yeah, it looks pretty thrilling.
Oh, it's pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
Don't get tired of that one. That's an entrance, baby.
Yeah.
I had the best time. I couldn't get enough.
Okay.
Could not get enough.
Okay. And so now completely changing gears. Do you meditate?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you have like an amount of time?
Yes,
that you
I
like to?
usually 30 minutes
Yeah.
is the time I've been able to get to.
Okay. That's pretty long.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Guided, unguided? Do you use like an app?
I use guided. I use different guided. And like,
What ones?
I never want it to be the same.
Yeah.
I always want to go on a different journey.
Mm-hmm.
There are some ones that are that good that you do it again because they're just so good.
Yeah.
But I've done open heart ones
Okay.
because, as I said before, opening the heart, you can relax a little. So like, I definitely needed to work on opening my heart, opening this whole chakra situation here.
Yeah.
Because I also like battled anxiety and panic attacks. I was getting a few of those with the intense 8 shows a week schedule. I was getting some panic attacks, and every time it would happen, it would always live in the center of my chest. So like, I definitely wanted to focus on anything that can open this up, whether it was massage or Reiki or I don't know, acupuncture, anything. Just open it up, you know, so it can release whatever it is sitting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are apps though. Or no, the guided meditation?
Oh,
Or
I
do you
use YouTube.
Oh, really?
I just
didn't even
Googled
think of that.
YouTube and like,
I didn't even think of that.
morning meditations or meditation to help you sleep or open your heart or you know, get the thoughts out of your head. Whatever issue I was having, I would Google that and something would come up that was 30 minutes and I'd do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think it's so. I've been asking a lot of questions about meditation lately because I think it's so helpful to keep yourself present and not reactionary. You know, like you are more response-able. You know, you have responses instead of reactions. And I think meditation really does help that.
It does. It really does.
Mindfulness.
It really does. Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera. Do you have a moment in life that taught you a lot about yourself? Does anything come to mind?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is a particular guy that I dated.
Okay.
And he was battling a lot of things that I had, but he was good at hiding it. So I thought that I was the issue, I guess.
Yeah.
Very good at it.
Yeah.
Very, very good. So a lot
I
of
don't mean to categorize any group of humans.
well, he was
but-
he was projecting. He was projecting those insecurities and fears, and because they were so similar to my own, I was like, oh no, I thought I fixed this. No, oh God. And that whole relationship really opened me up to all of my habits concerning how I react with other people. And what my insecurities were, seriously. And, you know, what I thought could be, you know, the limits on my ideas of possibility. You know, I definitely had a huge aha moment where it was like, well, you have two choices, Zurin. You can either do what your parents have done, do what your parents have taught you to do, or you can dare to have more than they were able to achieve. You can make a decision to fix it, to stop the generation, to take the entire family line elsewhere, further, because isn't that what they want for you anyway? Like every parent wants their child to be better than them, right?
Of course.
So like if you figured out a way, then you got to do it for them.
Yeah.
You know?
Damn. How old were you?
26.
Okay. Damn. That's
Yeah.
That's big.
It was huge. It was
Yeah.
huge. I called my best friend. I was crying. I was like, "This is what it is. This is what we gotta do." It was hilarious. She was like, "What's going on?"
Did you discover that like all on your own, or was this through conversations?
It was
like
through that
family.
relationship.
It literally was.
It was literally through that relationship because he was like,
Yeah.
he was very much like my dad, and so like, and then I was like, but he was also like my mom too, and I was really seeing them. Really seeing them, seeing what they achieved, and seeing where you can go to go further. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a good day. It was a good day. It was a good day.
Yeah. What are your views on kindness and pertaining to the business industry of theater?
Kindness. Can always use more of that.
Yes. Yeah.
It's easier than people think it is. It's people make it difficult, and it's easier. I don't know for anyone else, but for me, it's so much easier for me to be kind to someone than otherwise.
Than to be mean.
You know, rather
Yeah.
than like even when somebody does something to you and you really want to get them back, you want to, but it's like, excuse me, it's so much easier to be like, you know what? That has everything to do with you, nothing to do with me. I'm
Yeah.
just be over here and do my thing. You know, and it disarms people. Like, you know, that someone that has decided that they're going to come for you in any way, shape, or form. When you greet that sendage with kindness, it's like they don't even know what to do. They're not even expecting it. And I love seeing their face like blink and they're like, oh, yeah, sure, great. Oh, yeah, wonderful. Oh, yeah, you're awesome too.
Right.
And I'm like, there you go. Go with God. There it is. There it is. I knew you had it in you. I knew you did.
Oh my God. But is that something that you've like have you always had that growing up, or is that more learned?
That's learned.
Post college.
That's learned. That's post college.
It is.
That's post college. And like I've always fought that because my mom is a very strong person and she's I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of me. Right. And even though I don't want to let people take advantage of me either, like the way I handle it, I instinctively don't want to get people back, or I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel good.
Right.
So like trying to figure out how to go about it where I feel strong. I don't feel like I'm being a doormat, but at the same time, I have done something that makes me feel good. And that is where that has come from. Because it's very tricky. Because you want to. You be like, what you get?
I got something good.
I got something good.
I
No,
got
I
something
won't
better.
do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. You know? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
makes any sense. It's hard to explain.
It does. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I think it's interesting because when, at least, you know, I'll speak for myself. When I'm sensing insecurity, without even thinking, I can come off as, you know, rude or less than kind. So it's like even in my most insecure moments is where I'm like hyper aware of how I'm coming off, because I'm like, okay,
I'm a little raw right
addressing this.
now.
I'm very raw right now.
And that's the other thing, like noticing where you are. I'd be like, okay,
Don't say anything smart.
I'm a little raw right now. I am feeling things. It's okay to feel them, and I'm just going to sit here and feel them until it passes. It's just a feeling, and it's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then somebody asked me something. I was like, I'm just feeling things right now, but I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know, and being honest in that. I feel like in this business, people do respond to that because we're all feelers. No matter what anyone does in this business, we feel first. Yeah. So I feel like if you're honest with someone and be like, look, I'm feeling this way right now, but I'll get it. It's just for now. And they'll be like, oh, okay, great. Now I understand. And it's cool, you know?
Yeah, because you opened up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before all of this, what did you have like a self-talk that would keep yourself going, moving forward?
I noticed my self-talk was pretty raw. I was like, I grew up dancing. So when you're a dancer, we're hard on ourselves, honey. We're so hard. So like I would find myself calling myself all kinds of names. I was like, we have to stop this. We have to get this together. So like, and the only thing I do before auditions that I'm really nervous about is I play Stand Out from the Goofy movie.
Okay.
And it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember doing.
Right.
On a semi-regular basis when I was really nervous.
Did you have a self-talk, or do you have a self-talk, or it's
really? Not really. It's more like calming my nerves. It's really focusing on breathing, because I'm someone that like my nerves can get a hold. So like, before a big audition, my main goal is to just relax those, just breathe and let it flow through and not let it hold in any way, place in my body. Just let it flow. You're nervous. Screw it. You know?
Is there to help.
Yeah. We're just gonna breathe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have like a favorite failure or apparent failure that set you up for success?
I don't know. I don't think I do.
Okay.
Except for that time with Book of Mormon. The very first time I auditioned, which was when the tour was going out the first time, because I joined a year after. So when they were casting the first round, I got so nervous, and they told me that I wasn't a Nabalungi, so I didn't prepare. Like, I knew the Nabalungi stuff, but I didn't prepare it because I really didn't think they were going to ask me for it. And then they asked me for it. And it sent me through a nervous spiral, and I wasn't able to perform like I wanted to. And I was so mad at myself for believing that person that said I wasn't an Abalungi, because there he was asking me for it. And had I been ready, had I not listened to that person, I would have been ready. So I was so mad at myself. And so like I went, and I had been flirting with the idea of singing in the train station because it was Christmas time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Screw it. But I was nervous to do it. I was like, screw it. I'm doing it. I have nothing to care about now. I ruined everything. So it pushed me to start singing.
Yeah.
And the response was so wonderful. It was so pure. It was like, I feel like when we audition so much and we work so much, we forget like the base of what we're doing this for. Like, I perform for you and it makes you feel like that's it. So I felt like when I was singing in the train, like I remembered that, and like just the purest form of what we do.
Right.
Where I do something and you feel, and then you thank me for helping you feel, and we're happy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what that gave me. And I was able to be so happy during the holidays when I didn't have any money at the time, but like I had that, and that was a wonderful gift for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The person who told you weren't, were they associated with the project, or no? That was like,
yes.
They were like, oh, okay, all right. I'm just curious.
Yes, technically, yes.
Technically, okay. We were talking about this before we recorded about life happening for ourselves. Do you have a favorite story that comes to mind of life happening for you?
For me?
Yeah.
What do you mean for me?
Like instead
like
of life
they came along like a birdie?
Sure. Yeah. However you see it. No, because we have like, it's the difference between life happening to you and life happening for you.
Yeah.
Which is almost like the favorite failure,
I feel like, yes.
It's like that.
Yes. I feel like Clueless definitely happened for me. It felt that way.
Yeah.
It definitely felt that way. Because all I want to do is act. I can't think about anything else. I'm obsessed at this point in my career.
Yeah.
And knowing that, it's like, okay, so that's what I like. That's what I want. We want to do more of that. And just like admitting that to myself and letting it be, and not letting it mean anything. It's like, no, that's just like what I like and what I love right now and what I want to do more of right now. And that's cool. And so once I was like honest with myself and feeling that, Clueless came along. And I was like, well, Zurin, you said you wanted to do this. So
Here it is.
Here it is. You want to do it? Here you go. So I was like, well, that is what I said. So I'm going to take it because I said it, even though I was very nervous to do so. Obviously, leaving Mean Girls. Hello.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
And I did it. And then they announced Dove Cameron's going to be Cher. And I was like, well, that ups the ante now, doesn't it?
A bit.
Just a bit. You know, because now we have a different crowd. Now we have a Hollywood crowd. You know, you have all of her people coming, you know.
The whole
and
tribe.
That's wonderful.
It is, yeah.
You know,
It
to
is.
a whole new medium, like, which is definitely where I want to go. Yeah. So that's great.
How has it changed, if there's anything to speak on with this, how has that changed the vibe, if it's changed the vibe, backstage, at the stage door, etc.?
It hasn't changed it much.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
It hasn't really changed it much. I guess everyone's a little bit more aware and asks questions more and is very, very much, I feel like everyone is just a little bit more, what do you need? If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, that's always good.
You're like, all right.
That's always good.
Yeah.
It's always good. But like the cast is so wonderfully, every single person in the cast is so wonderfully themselves. Everyone is comfortable being themselves. I feel confident of saying that to every single cast member, which is really special and rare. You know?
Yeah.
And that has made the entire situation wonderful backstage because it's like, this is who I am and it's cool. And that's who you are and it's cool. You know?
Yeah.
That's really, really special, actually.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. I mean, that's great, especially when you have just good dynamics.
Good dynamics. Very good dynamics backstage. I
That
couldn't
never upset me.
couldn't ask for more. It's good.
Uh-huh.
Everyone has great what's that word?
Camaraderie. Not that word.
Chemistry. dang it.
Chemistry. There we
it
are.
is. There it is. Everyone has
That is
great
safe.
chemistry. It's great.
Okay.
great.
That's good. Is there a role that's taught you the most about yourself that you've played?
Well, the first time I did a lead, like the title role, like when I was, it's called Josephine Tonight.
Okay.
It's about Josephine Baker from her childhood to right when she became huge. So I guess from childhood to like 23, 24. And because like you're leading the show and you're on the stage the entire time, I definitely learned the most in terms of what that would require. Leading a cast and that kind of thing was definitely
What'd you learn about leading a cast? Or
that
about leadership?
that it's not just what you do on stage. What you do on stage definitely, like being the kind of actor that reacts to what's been given you on a day-to-day, definitely helps. Also, like, it's not just what you do on stage, it's who you are. And I feel like in that position, people are more often to be standoffish with you, and like bringing them in and like trying to connect with them on a daily basis is wonderful, and it's definitely worth it. Yeah, I feel like in Mean Girls, like I saw that again. I saw it in Book of Mormon, obviously with our Price and our Cunningham, different Prices and different Cunninghams.
Yeah.
And in Mean Girls, Erica Henningsen is a great leader in a way where she is not doing much, but she is there and she is present, and she, I don't know, just sends that energy out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because your subconscious can feel it.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's a very interesting thing, and it's something I would not have thought about, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think theater can teach, like an average theater goer?
It depends on the play.
Okay.
But I guess,
I mean, you could pick one, or I could pick one.
I mean, it's hard generally because it does depend on the play. However, I feel like no matter what the play is, it's a certain kind of license, a license to be any certain thing, a license to live any certain way. I think it gives theater goers permission. I think.
Permission to feel.
Permission to do.
Permission to do.
Feel, be, anything.
Okay.
Anything of that nature.
Is there a role that you want to play, or roles that you want to play that you haven't?
Oh my
played
God,
that
there's
you-
so many.
We'll take the next 10 minutes listing now all of it now.
There are
Is there anyone
so
that comes
many.
to mind that you're like,
I really want to play Mimi in Rent, and I am so excited to see Rent live. I can't even breathe. But I don't know how that would happen or when that would happen, but for some reason that role really speaks to me. I think I probably just want to gyrate on stage.
yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I appreciate the
forgot-
honesty.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. No, it's that and her full arc. She has a wonderful arc that's really, really cool to me.
She does.
I would love to be Eliza in Hamilton. Obviously.
For anyone listening.
Right? Book me. And those are the two that are off the top of my head. And I feel like anything else is just hasn't been written yet.
Hello.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, I would love to do a show where it's like beautiful farcical comedy, like with like two women. Like that is like not something I can really think of that exists, but like that would be so cool to me, you know?
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that. I would love to do Shakespeare. I would love to do a Shakespeare musical, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just things like that. Like
I feel you.
Just different things that aren't here yet. Let's write them.
Come on. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What are your beliefs on discipline? Because I know we spent a good amount of this conversation talking about like the universe and willing it and the secret and all that stuff. But I mean, we gotta be honest. Like, if you
honey.
don't rise to what they need,
Yeah, you can't just say it. You have to
Yeah.
have a plan and then you do it
Yeah.
after you say it.
yeah.
And that is the part that's the discipline part. Where like you're like, okay, I want this. How are you gonna get this? You need to do this. So you have to do that. Like, and otherwise it won't come. Because like, oh, you're doing what you want, what you need to do to get it. Okay, well here you go. You know. But yeah, I was brought up a dancer, so discipline is everything. Practice, practice, practice. It's the only way. Like I really could not sing when I started college. You know, I had a fine, bass voice, but I was not a singer like the majority of my program. I could dance and I could act well, but that was the last thing. And for most people singing, in my program, for most people, singing was their first thing and they were learning how to dance and act. So I was kind of on the outs, like learning the opposite. So it was very like, because these are Black kids, okay? So they're singing for the blood. And I'm like, oh God, I don't really sing. And like, they're making fun of me, but I don't care. I have to learn it, And I'd be in that practice room, honey. I've been in that practice room asking my voice teacher, Darius Smith, hey, for like, where are my lessons? I need more lessons. I have to catch up, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it paid off.
What have you learned?
Paid off.
What have you learned about self-awareness through all of this?
Well, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
everything. It's how you figure out what kind of artist you're going to be. It's how you figure out where you want to go in the business.
Well, I'm interested. Like, so
You
when you were staying disciplined with dance, was anyone pushing you through that, or was that all you were? It was just you're like, this is what I want.
did that
this is
for
what
my
it is.
mom.
Yeah.
I danced for her. I liked it.
Yeah.
I always liked it. I'm a physical person, so it always felt natural to me. But in terms of like, dance was never the love of my life. I liked it a lot, And I feel like I figured that out when I was about 10. I was like, I like this a lot, but it's not quite it. It's almost. It's very close. And I remember like in terms of being a dancer for a living, and that's what led me to find musical theater. It was like, I like it, but it's not like everything, and if I'm going to do it, it has to be everything, right? Because they say if you're going to do anything else, then don't,
Yeah.
That's what they say.
They do say that.
They do say that a lot, right?
They do.
But yeah, so I forgot the question. But yeah.
Discipline, self-awareness.
Yes.
It all ties together in some way, shape, or form. Is there a common piece of incorrect advice you hear often? Ever?
I really don't think so.
Okay.
I feel like everything that has said is like sort of right. Like, of course, not any one thing is like the entire right, but I feel like it's always a piece of the right. Because I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when so here, as we're getting towards the end, I'm curious, like how you start your day. We're going to talk about your scheduling and what you do. What? And yes, have some tea. What advice would you give to like a smart-driven theatrical performer? Hitting those EPAs, hitting those ECCs.
I would say always pay attention to what's going on around you, what's going on in the business, what's going on in the room. And I would say, set your goals and figure out how you're going to accomplish it, and then do it and keep doing it. And it comes. The more you work, it comes. It comes. I swear.
How do you start your day?
Well, I'm not very good with routines, Clay. I'm not good.
Okay.
I'm not good at it.
Hey,
so
but
like
that
every
can be a
day,
routine. No routine can be a routine.
Every day it's different. I think I kind of like it being different because, when you're doing 8 shows a week, it's the same.
Yeah.
So I'm getting better. I'm getting better at waking up and setting days and setting what I'm going to do on days and doing it on those days. I feel like I am getting better. But like every day I usually like struggle out of the bed because my body.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why I'm like, so I'm curious, like keeping yourself warm. And
yeah. I stretch and roll out at night, take baths, and I get up and I feel like I'm happiest when I get up slowly.
Yeah.
When I don't have to jump up, get dressed, and get out the door.
You got time to like
if I have at least like 2 hours to do this and cook myself breakfast and clean and listen to this song, then I'm so much happier.
Is that when you meditate in the morning, or is that?
When do I use it? No, usually at night. I'm a night person.
Yeah.
I prefer to do everything at night.
Okay.
So I will be up doing all the things and then sleeping in. That's me.
Yes. I totally lost my train of thought. I just got so excited over that.
Being a night person.
Yeah, being a night person. I haven't decided if I'm a night or a morning person. I'm trying to be a morning person because I feel like I can be more productive in the morning, but you can be productive at night.
Well, there's a certain kind of taboo with being a night person.
That's true.
Like they're like, oh, you don't get up. Oh, well, you have to do it. You have to get up and you have to set your intentions. And I'm like, maybe I can just set my intentions the night before.
And see them later in the morning.
And see them way later in the morning.
What do you have any favorite books or books you've gifted?
I love Octavia Butler. I will read all of her things. I love James Baldwin. I need to read Michelle Obama's book. That's what I need to do.
Okay.
ASAP. And Children of Blood and Blown. I need to read that ASAP. I will give anything a try. I kind of bounce all over the place with the things I read. I'll read like philosophy stuff and autobiographies and then fiction stuff but like I think I love science fiction, historical fiction. I love history.
Yeah.
So anything involving history makes me happy.
Okay. A certain time in history? History in general.
Oh, all of it, because it repeats and it's so cool.
It does repeat.
It was always my favorite subject in school, so I'm a sucker. It's great.
All right. Well, this is like time has flown for me. I don't know about you, but I am. We're wrapping up. Where can people find you on the social medias?
Oh, I am Zurin5. That is Zurin 5 at Instagram.
Come on.
And I got some YouTube videos up.
Come on.
Okay. Got a little song and dance on my YouTube videos, and
see you at Clueless.
That's pretty much it. Oh, and then yes, of course, I am at the Signature Theater, the Griffin Theater, the Signature on 42nd and 10th, doing Clueless until January 12th, playing at Dion Davenport. Excuse me, Miss Dion. Hey.
It's completely unrehearsed. If you could put a word or a phrase on a billboard for millions of people to see. Or like, does there a quote or anything come to mind?
Race is not a type.
Okay. Race is not a type. This conversation, Zurin, has been incredible. I really thank you for taking this time to chat with me. This has been so much fun.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Zurin Villanueva.
You have a good voice.
Thank you.
So it seems that Hamilton started out with a certain aesthetic just by happenstance in terms of who's lighter and who's darker in what role. And the casting directors seem to take that on and continue casting in that fashion. But at some point, Hamilton was like, wait a minute. The creative team was like, wait a minute. No, Eliza doesn't have to look like Philippa So. Angelica does not have to look like Renee. And then they started mixing things up, and now it is just the most amazing thing to see Danae Benton playing Eliza, as dark as she is. To me, like, we're like the same coloring, and it is a thing that I never thought I would see on Broadway. That's sort of something like, you take your risks on the road. You do that kind of thing on your touring companies, but to have that on Broadway. And Alexander Hamilton is being played by a dark-skinned man as well. Yeah. And it is just, I couldn't believe how shocked I was to see it, and then how happy I was to see it. And it just incited so many emotions in me just looking at the pictures. I go back to look at their pictures on Instagram just to see the two of them standing there.
Is it real? It's real. It's real.
It's real. Just to encourage myself. Like, no, that cannot stop you. Your color, how visibly black you are cannot stop you. And
what do you think that?
Say?
No,
Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you.
No, keep going.
Off.
No.
I don't want to cut you off. What do you think that means for the future? Do you think that's just a one, isolated case with this show, or do you think that actually can branch out into?
I think it can, but it takes creative teams like Hamilton to make those decisions of, no, we can mix it up, and we will. And you were saying that casting is like, oh, we have a whole bunch of black people here, and how do we cast each one because they're so amazing? Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was saying when I said race is not a type. Instead of looking at someone visually and be like, okay, just visually, and be like, you go here because you are short and Latina and you look like the Peggy on Broadway right now, so you have to be Peggy. Instead of doing it that way, what kind of energy is that person giving you? Like, you can have, I know I have a friend of mine that gives me Dear Evan Hansen vibes, and he's a beautiful singer that's awkward and cute, and he's that guy. He's like Seymour. He's Seymour. But he's black. But you look at him, you talk to him, he is Seymour. And that's what I mean by race is not a type. Like, you can look at the person, forget their hue for a minute, and speak to them and see, and then you'll know what type they are truly.
Yeah.
And that is what is so important. And I see it happening. Danae has been knocking down so many doors as far as Chocolate Girls, and it gives me so much joy from what she did for Comet and now Hamilton. So it's happening, but I would hope that she's not going to be the only one, because it's happened twice, and we're like, okay, that's Danae. She's amazing. And okay, the next girl can do it. And then the next girl can do another show or a different kind of show, or, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's important for it to not just, okay, now the only dark-skinned girl that can do it is Danae. We can't have that. If she can do it, the rest of us can do it as well.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes important, where it's not an isolated case.
Yeah.
Where she okay, she books those kinds of jobs and we're done. No, don't sequester that. It's, because that another girl that has a different skill set but the same hue can do this other show, do that other show, and do this other show, or two of us in the same show. Oh, now see, that would be forward thinking.
Yeah, that would be, yes.
Yes.
Now, okay, sorry, Wizard. Again, am I cutting you off again?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to discuss a hierarchy of attractiveness and your views on that.
Yes. Well,
in Broadway?
there are two places where I have felt the hierarchy of attractiveness, and that is in the dating world, in my dating life, and in casting. Especially things that have, well, there would be like if you have 3 black girls in a show, and who plays what character. If the lead girl, the main girl, she would most often be lighter skinned, and then the quirky one would be darker skinned, like that kind of thing. And black shows are guilty of it as well. Now, and that is there's a historical piece to that, because obviously we're coming from, the lighter you are, the more attractive you were from, way back, during vaudeville times, and our seeded history with the whiter you are, the better. And that has still persisted today, because now you might have black male writers who, they're casting their lead girl, and they instinctively, without even realizing they're doing it, they only picture a fairer girl as their girl in that show, because that's who they say is attractive. And they don't realize that it's not just preference, it's coming from all of that crap that we are still struggling to get over. And so it can even live inside of our own pieces of work. And that is something that no one's really talking about, or even, just noticing. And it's time that we start those conversations within our community and within the Broadway community as a whole, so that when we do things, whether it's a light-skinned girl, dark-skinned girl, light-skinned guy, dark-skinned guy, that we are doing it on purpose and not just acting out of habit from hundreds of years of self-deprecating thoughts and behavior. But yeah, I've gone into auditions where, and it's with black tables and white tables, where, and yes, I'm not sure, but there is a feeling that happens. You go in and you're very prepared. Always, these are only stories where I was extremely prepared, not the one I messed up.
We're not talking about that.
Not those. Yeah. The ones where I was ready, and I go in and I do my beats, I do my beginning, middle, end, I do my key change, I do my things. We're good. And during the song, I always see happiness and like, oh, so nice. And then after my middle has hit, then they start looking at my resume. Then they start looking a little disappointed. And then they start passing my resume down the table. And when I'm done, it's kind of like a blank face, and it's thank you. But there's a blankness that's going on once again, I know I'm not sure, but I am, though.
Is that because they don't know where to place you?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like they're confused. Then they know, dang, I can't. Okay, let's just get her out of here nicely. Though that is the succession of thoughts that seem to go across their faces. And it's happened where, one particular time, I was extremely surprised because I know I did a good job, right? One of those. So then I get my book. I'm like, I don't know what happened. No questions asked, no clues. So I get my book, and I get my book from the pianist, and he looks at me and he goes, you did a great job, with intense eyes and like, ignore them. Like he was like, made it a point. And I was like, why would a pianist do that? It must be tight. Usually if it's too tall, they actually ask you, how tall are you? And then you're too tall. Yeah.
You take
so I know it's not that one.
Right.
Like, so I knew it wasn't that one because they didn't do that question.
Right.
Yeah. But that's happened to me maybe a handful of times. And it's a very specific thing. There's just a somber, and then it's like a hiding. Then they start not looking at you. And I know I could be completely making it up, but with that kind of thing, you feel it deep down.
There's
you feel it deep.
I wasn't there, so I don't know. What I do know is a feeling I have after a conversation with someone, and I'm talking on the street when it feels weird. You know what I mean? They're smiling, everything's great, but there's something in your gut that's like, don't go down there. Don't go down that alley. Don't go down that. We talked about this before our interview, where you were saying like it almost sucks that you can feel
it does
so much from another person without them opening their mouth.
Yeah, I've always been extremely intuitive. I can feel when I have them and when I've lost them during the audition, which can get distracting because you're trying to like, no, regardless, do your work, do your thing, do your scene. Yeah. But if you feel them slipping, you're like, oh.
I'm still going to finish.
You're still going to finish, but not the best way, you know? But yeah, it's a very interesting experience, and it's something that I have found makes it hard to keep my confidence up. It's a little difficult to keep your confidence up when you see people that don't look like you getting the roles that you like. But then you see Danae, and then you see she's not the only one, there's more. Just give me a minute to think. And you see Heather Headley, and you see, and you see Cynthia Erivo, and be like, no, I can. You can. It cannot stop you. You're fine. And you just start saying it over and over again until you start to believe it.
Yeah.
The other thing that's very interesting is, like for me, because I am tall and thin, my stature and like the model thing, I call it the model disease or whatever it is, where because that kind of stature is rare, it kind of stops people from seeing you inside, that they can't really get past the stature or you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to see how I would articulate it for myself, you know, to like let you know that it makes sense to me. Is like they see you as, and forgive me for like tall, thin, nothing inside.
Yeah.
Like, just like, pretty legs.
Yeah. Just pretty. That's
Yeah.
it. And
Okay.
and if you're playing that part, then that's wonderful. But those parts, you know, this is New York. We want real people. We want, you know, down and gritty, the down and out person. I like the conflict is where all of the magic is, right? But I find like this stature thing, like, okay, I can't have problems. I can't have conflict. Life
has to be perfect.
Like, and I'm like, first of all, that's silly. No one's perfect, of course.
That's not
but
real.
like, I was like, I got ridiculed like nobody's business for exactly what you see, the thinness and the tall and the awkward, and I was always felt differently inside than the way people related to me. But I that is a very difficult thing. It's like showing your humanity and letting the behind the table people know that no, I'm not just quote unquote pretty or statuesque, or she's just, you know, something to be put on the wall, but something to be taken down off the wall and seen and felt. And I've always, like, in the city wanted to be shorter, like in New York, you know, for that reason. And then I know shorter actresses that want to be taller. So it's just a mess all around.
Everyone's got something.
But I feel that is extremely interesting. And I'm still trying to figure out what there is to be done about that. I have no idea.
Is that just changing your thoughts on it? Seeing past it? I mean, it's hard for you to, I mean, you see past it, but the people that are looking at you.
Yes. So what can I show?
So it's like, really, what do I do?
What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. I just said it just to say it.
You're not the only person though going through this. I've had conversations with other women who are like 5'9", and it's like, they're like, well, they will see you as like chorus person and this is just, and I'm saying this right on the surface with no one, there's no they in particular. I'm just saying they would see her as like, oh, tall, leggy. So chorus, better be able to dance, not going to have a character with a journey, though, probably, unless it's the chorus girl with a journey. Otherwise,
The chorus girl with the journey. 42nd Street.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But like, that's 42nd Street.
Yes.
So I understand.
Yeah.
I've heard this before.
It's tricky, and I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no answers. But it is a very interesting thing, especially. Well, then there's being in a show like Mean Girls, where everyone looks different than you, and how that informs the story and where you're placed. I was covering Karen and Gretchen, and they're plastic. They're pretty. Okay, cool. I could be plastic. And it did feel very different for me. Like, because in my mind, I was like, this is an all-white high school. And, she's the black girl in all-white high school. Like, that's a journey. That's an extremely specific journey that I didn't go through that because I went to LaGuardia High School. So we had everyone at our high school. So happy that happened. But so many of my friends that I went to college with were the only ones. And I listened to all of their stories about what that was like and the kind of confidence that you had to procure for yourself in order to survive. That it had to be bigger than, but you're also a teenage girl. So that's almost impossible, but you try anyway. And it's just such a big self-esteem hurdle. Being a teenage girl, being in high school where very few people at least look like you. Right. And I really liked trying to play that side of the story. But the most amazing thing about going on for Karen and Gretchen were that when I came out to sign playbills, these kids, we had a lot of theater kids. First of all of these kids are learning the business. They're learning the ins and outs. They're learning that there are understudies, and sometimes they go on and they cover more than one, and they must study, and they're witnessing, and they're into it. Yeah. And that in of itself is the most darling thing in the whole world, because they are trying to ask you intelligent questions and I'm like,
respectful questions.
And respectful questions that I just want to kiss them. They're so cute. But what was most surprising to me was that they were like, hey, you did a wonderful job. And we came back to see Black Karen because we saw Kate and we love Kate. And we wanted to see yours too. And we want to see your Gretchen. And we want to see this person going for Damien. And they just want to see everyone. They want to catch them all like Pokemon. It's amazing that and loving Kate Rockwell does not mean I don't like your performance or your performance. And it's another reason to go back to the play. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like maybe the producers are freaking out because if the original is not in, it's like, oh no, we're going to lose sales. But also there's an opportunity there because these kids love it and they'll come back to see this one and that one and this one and them all, and that I think there is a possibility there that I feel like some producers on Broadway haven't seen yet, but there's it seems to be that could be a possible money thing, that could benefit all involved. But that was just a thought I had. It was just
that's an interesting point you're bringing up, because children by nature, like before you're taught how to think about a hierarchy or before you're taught how to see certain things, you don't. And especially in theater, when your mind is supposed to be open, you go to the theater and you just see things that are fantastical. They're not, some of the stories that just couldn't possibly happen, could they? And these kids come to see you and it's like, oh my God. Oh my God. There wasn't anything like that in the film. Mm-hmm. And then then the journey that you're bringing to it. Because again, what we were talking about, feeling. They're sitting in the audience, you're saying the lines, but the emotions that you're pouring out, people are feeling. They're feeling that.
If I'm doing it right.
Hello. If you're doing it right, let's put that on there.
If I took the note, Yeah, and that was the best part. Yeah. That was the absolute best part because, you go on and you're like, oh, they want to see, You know, because it's women. Ashley Park has a Tony nomination. Of course, you want to see Ashley Park. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but to still be greeted like, you know, we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back and see Ashley. We missed her. Or we already saw her, and now we see you, and we love you both. And that is so powerful. That is so powerful and so beautiful. And I was just so surprised.
Yeah.
I love to tell people that because it was just the most beautiful surprise.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only got also, you know, because when you have a show that all of your fan base is the young kids, social media is king. So
The truth.
oh yes. So when I went on for Karen for the first time, everyone was like, "Oh, this is great. Oh, representation. Oh, this is great." And there was only one girl. Just one girl was like, "Well, she's supposed to be blonde." And I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to let it ride. Then there was another girl that had a fan account that replied and was like, "Anyone can be dumb." And I stared at it for like 10 minutes. I stared at it for 10 whole minutes because I was speechless.
Yeah.
I was so speechless. It's hope.
That's what it is.
It's hope.
Yeah.
It's hope that there are parents out there that are teaching their children correctly, and we are moving, and we are moving into the next, which is true.
Good.
Anyone can be dumb.
It's true. I have my moments.
Who says, like, you know, I know dumb blonde is an archetype, but anyone can be dumb.
Yeah.
You know, and then that would get some pressure off the blondes. You know, they don't always have to be dumb. They can be smart too. Take some pressure off.
Yeah.
Let somebody else be dumb. They can be smart.
Yeah.
You know? I just had to say that. Oh gosh. I almost got misty eyed. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. There was something else we were covering before we did the interview about how and how would I say this? For instance, Wicked. The witch has to be green, otherwise the story doesn't make sense.
Yes, she must be green.
Glinda.
Anyone can be green. Keep going.
Yes.
Hey.
Glinda, though, I don't know that she has to be.
No, she does not. There's nothing in the script that says
That's what I'm saying, though, too, even about Mean
Except that
Girls.
she's popular. We know she's popular. That's it. That's all we know.
And who's popular in high school. But that's also like
which high school?
But what
which
neighborhood
high
are you in?
school?
Yes.
In which state?
Yes.
In which neighborhood?
Yes.
Let's get the brass tacks here. Let's get specific.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's the interesting thought if you can open your mind to that.
Yes.
Not you.
Well, of course. I think there's an opportunity to cast in such a way where you are Hold on. Wait. Let me think. There's a possibility to cast in such a way where you use that to your favor, you can only do that when you know history inside and out. History of where you have your where you've set your play, where you've in what time and what period and what place. When you really know the insides and outs of the history of the place you're setting it in, you can stretch racials or hues, racial or hues, and if you know the background, you know how to stretch it, or you can stretch it in an interesting way. If you know that,
like America, 1770s, Hamilton.
You know, like
but yeah.
Well, that's the entire premise of Hamilton, is to stretch everything without prejudice. Like, just do it, and that is what they've said. So that's great, and it's important to continue doing that. And I think that they realize that in order to continue doing that, they have to shake it up every couple of months. You know, and that's wonderful. But if you can lean it or stretch it or do something interesting if you know the history inside and out, and still give it full value for the place and the time setting. I'm not saying that we need to have Fiddler in the Roof with somebody other than Jewish people. But there are different kinds of Jewish people, and how can you stretch that, and how can you and that could be interesting. But
yeah, well, that's another one, like even the Jets and the Sharks. You need that.
And the Sharks.
The story doesn't make sense unless you have two different, but who says it has
two
to be? Two
different, but which two different? Because there were a lot of, especially in New York City, there were a lot of two different groups of people that had a quote unquote social war at some point in New York City. There were Irish cops and black people. There were the blacks and the Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn. There are so many. There were Italians and Irish, I believe, fought for a while. So there are so many different ways to have two feuding people in New York City. And if you know the history of New York City, you can decide which one you're doing, and you're great. So that is what I mean in terms of stretching it, but we're still in the world. We're still in history. We're still telling the story we set out to tell.
Yeah.
And I think that is the next point. I feel like we're on the precipice of that, with where we're changing things like carousel and like doing things of that nature. Like we're figuring out, we're messing around,
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
And this
With
conversation
all
right
the-
here will change it.
Hey, hope so. Let's hope so. I just want to say sentences that make people think about things. That's it.
I just want to say sentences that make people think about it. I want that to be the title of the episode.
Ooh, should it?
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. Was there any other topics that you wanted to touch on?
Keep thinking, keep pushing, and do not talk yourself out of auditions before you go in based on your type. I've fallen prey to that, but I refuse. You must fight it, okay? Keep fighting it. Keep fighting it. Go in assuming you can, regardless of your type, even if it seems so outrageous. You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Zurin. Love you.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.